All right, everybody. I know I'm 22 minutes late. I was eating, so that's a good reason. I wasn't late on purpose because I just forgot. I actually had this ready. But welcome to episode number 4 of FalconsDice. Now, if you do not know what this is, FalconsDice is a podcast. I'll come on here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll come on here for 30 minutes to an hour and just talk about 3 topics. I'll do 3 topics that do surround the Atlanta Falcons. So, last week, it was a very short show, very sloppy show. This show, I do think, will be better. I'm going to say that. I do think that this show will be a better show than last show because last show I just threw some topics together. This time I actually have done some topics that, I actually, have prepared to talk about. So, I will, of course, post the StreamYard link for anyone who might want to pop on in. So there is the StreamYard link for someone who may want to pop on in and talk about the Falcons with me. Falcons fans. Normally Falcons fans only is what this show is going to be about. So, I guess we can get started with the podcast, and let's talk about this first topic. First topic is going to be about Grady Jarrett. So I think we all know Grady Jarrett. He's definitely one of the cornerstones of our defense. He's a very young player. He's going to be here for many years. He had his real breakout season last year, and a lot of hype going into Grady Jarrett into 2020. And I want to discuss a topic. Can Grady Jarrett win Defensive Player of the Year? Now, of course, Grady Jarrett, he's a guy that, that will hit you. He is a guy that's not scared to lay down that hit, and that's what we do need on the Falcons, and that is what he brings for the Falcons. When you look at Defensive Player of the Year candidates, you got to look at an Aaron Donald. You got to look at a Khalil Mack. You got to look at Nick Bosa, TJ Watt. You got to look at really look at a guy like a Stephon Gilmore who won it last year. So don't eliminate any corner from the conversation. Don't eliminate Tre'Davious White to me. I mean, I really think that Tre'Davious White could be a sleeper to win Defensive Player of the Year. But no doubt the Falcons and Grady Jarrett, he brings a great amount of energy to this team. And it's really what we do need. He can hit hard. He doesn't give up on a play. He works his ass off, and it delivers on the field for him. Why do you think he made the Pro Bowl last year? It's because he worked his ass off, and he's only poised to get better this year with Falcons having a improved defense. So, Grady Jarrett, him along with Deion Jones, no doubt the 2 leaders of the defense. So, is he a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Like I said, we look at guys like an Aaron Donald. We look at guys like a Khalil Mack. We look at guys like a, TJ Watt or Nick Bosa, or heck, maybe even a Joey Bosa or JJ Watt or those guys. And then also a guy like a Stephon Gilmore or maybe a Tre'Davious White can come in and win it. But overall, is he a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? I think that really depends on what type of season he has, obviously. And are the Falcons going to be one of those teams that are really up there, like that are going to be the teams competing for a playoff spot come December? That is the question that we have to really think about. So that's what's really going to depend on really what he will be ranked as this year. Will he be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Will he be seen as he's a good player but not Defensive Player of the Year? He's a nose tackle, Aaron Donald. There's Chris Jones, and a lot of other guys there, but he is probably a top 5 nose tackle in the NFL. He's definitely one of the more rising nose tackles in the NFL, and I do think that Grady Jarrett can win a Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if it will be this year, but I do think that give Grady Jarrett a few years to develop and learn more about basically what we want to do and learn more about the league. I think he will be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Just give him a few more years. Give him some experience. And he should be up there with the Defensive Player of the Year candidates like an Aaron Donald, like a Khalil Mack, like a J.J. Watt. I don't know if he'll be this year. I do think he'll have a good season this year. But I can't say if he will come out and be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in 2020. But he has been working hard. The defense is getting better. So that will probably help his case for a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. That when you're a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, you have to have two things. It's either one, you have to be very, very good by yourself, or two, you have to be good, obviously, but then have a great team surrounding you. So that's the thing with a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So to answer that topic, I don't think that this year he's going to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, to be quite honest. I don't think that's his year. I think that the voters for the Defensive Player of the Year, they will probably vote someone else and probably will vote someone like an Aaron Donald or a Khalil Mack or a Stephon Gilmore again or a TJ Watt or Nick Bosa. You just never know about what the voters are going to vote. And honestly, we just have to see how the season is going to be. This is going to be a weird season, obviously, with the training camp and everything. So we will just have to see if, Grady Jarrett is going to come out and have a Defensive Player of the year for us. And I think he's absolutely capable of doing it. I just don't know if he will do it. But we certainly hope that he can do it. And that is where we are going to go there. So I don't think he's going to be one this year, but I do think give him 2 or 3 more years, he will definitely start being talked about as a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Okay, another one. Yes, I know we're getting by this fast, but another candidate for an award. Our first round pick, A.J. Terrell. Now, A.J. Terrell, it wasn't the best pick. We should have traded up. I don't think, there might be some people that said we should have just gone with Caleb Von Chason. Look, I'm not saying that he's going to be a bad player or anything, but look, Caleb Von Chason only has speed and really nothing else. So I don't think that we really should have gotten him. And I'm glad that we did get a corner in this draft. I think we should have personally have traded up like there were reports that we were trying to do. Should have traded up. We should have traded up with Arizona to get Isaiah Simmons, and that's just plain and simple. He shouldn't have dropped that far, and we should have traded up with Arizona to get Isaiah Simmons, or with Jacksonville to get C.J. Henderson. But AJ Terrell is who we had to take. Personally, lots of people, including myself, weren't that happy with the pick. We weren't really that high on him. But I've grown some confidence, and you really know something about AJ Terrell. It was really only one bad game. So don't really freak the hell out. Oh, God, he's going to be awful. He's going to be a bust. I'm not saying that he won't, but it isn't that bad. It could have been a lot worse. And I think it would have been a lot worse if we picked Caleb Von Chase on, because we wouldn't have addressed the need that we need. And when you get AJ Terrell, you get a guy that can be able to come in and make an impact. You know, we really talk about, you know, the bad game he had versus LSU in the championship game. What we really have to understand about that game is that he, in that game, was having a 103 fever. I want to say it was like a 103 fever. And he still played in the game. Yes, he came, let up a lot of big plays. And yes, he isn't ready to go up against some of the more good receivers in the league, like Tyreek Hill. That's who we face. We face Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. We face Amari Cooper, which honestly, I mean, it is kind of competition, but, you know, Amari Cooper, he can be good and all. The one thing with Amari Cooper is I don't know if he puts that much effort in. And, okay, yes, I get you, Saints fans. Yes, Michael Thomas, okay? But, no, he's not the best receiver in the league. But that's where we're going to keep with there. Is A.J. Terrell a possible Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate? When we look at Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, plain and simple, is the leading candidate. Then after that, you look at guys like Isaiah Simmons. You look at guys like Jeff Okudah. You do look at a guy like a Derek Brown, who we have to deal with in this division. A Javon Kinlaw, who's on that very good defense with the 49ers. But is he a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate? That all depends on how he develops. And it's plain and simple. If he can develop good enough to be able to really play at a good level from day one, kind of like how Marshawn Lattimore did do with the Saints. If he can have that type of season where Marshawn Lattimore did win Defensive Rookie of the Year, if we have that type of season, then if he can have that type of rookie season, then yes, he can absolutely have a shot of winning it. The one thing with him winning it is really the fact that not only it's the other rookies, it's the fact that he's having to go up against these great receivers. He has to go up against Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson. Okay, it's probably not going to be him going up against these guys. It'll probably be Isaiah Oliver or Sheffield going up against these guys. God forbid if you put Isaiah Oliver on these guys, they're just going to rape him. But if it is AJ Terrell and these guys, you really got to look at, he'll probably be, I'd put him on the number 2s. So I'd put him, it's going to be him, Tyler Lockett, guys like Tyler Lockett, Michael Gallup, or CeeDee Lamb. I'd say CeeDee Lamb. The Panthers, Robbie Anderson, Justin Jefferson, Marvin Jones. It's going to be Jerry Jeudy. That's obviously going to be very, very tough. Emmanuel Sanders. whoever the Raiders' number 2 receiver is. I think Mike Williams is the same for the Chargers. Yeah. Sammy Watkins, and then you have Chris Godwin. So he has to face a lot of good receivers. So what we really have to think about with A.J. Terrell, how will he perform against these receivers? If he can come out and lock these receivers down and maybe get 3 to 4 picks, which I'd be shocked if he does, but if he does do that, I personally think you count him in as a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate because he went out and he was able to cover all of these proven number 2 wide receivers, heck, maybe even number 1 wide receivers he'll be covering. And he put up a great performance against them. Then, yeah, give him a Defensive Rookie of the Year award. But the real thing with that is not only the players like Chase Young, who are going to be cornerstones of their defense right away, and Isaiah Simmons, but it's the fact that how will he perform? But it was only one bad game. He still had a decent season with Clemson. He had a decent college career there. Can he be able to do what he did in college on the NFL level? That is the real question. And if he can do it, then he'll be a good corner for us. Plain and simple. So, is he a possible Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate? I think he is. I think that if he can be able to lock these receivers down, it doesn't have to be every play, but if he can make some good plays against some good number 2 wide receivers, then yeah. I seriously do think that A.J. Terrell can be a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. So that is where we stand there on that topic. And topic number 3, the main topic of the show, is about Megatron. So, Calvin Johnson, we all know, Megatron, he retired in 2015. He retired early, and is really one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. I don't actually think that Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time. I think it's Randy Moss. And you can say, oh, he just disrespecting Jerry Rice. Look, at the end of the day, Randy Moss had more speed. He could, yes, I get Jerry Rice could go up and make a catch over the top of someone's head, but Randy Moss can make the unbelievable one-handed catches. So I think that Randy Moss is better. Then you got Jerry Rice. Then really for me it's Terrell Owens. And after that it's Julio for me. And then after Julio, it's Calvin Johnson. Now, as we all know, Calvin Johnson got drafted in 2007. He actually, because we all know he got drafted by the Lions. He spent his whole career there. But he actually said that he wanted to get drafted by the Falcons. And it makes sense. He played his career at Georgia, which, by the way, I am an Alabama fan, but we're not going to talk about that because this isn't a trash-talking stream. He played high school ball here. And he grew up in Georgia. He grew up, I want to say it was in Noonan, Georgia is where he grew up. But he grew up here in Georgia. And it's very justifiable why he wanted to play for the Falcons. He wanted to be home and play his professional NFL football right at home. So, obviously, we didn't draft him. We drafted, forget the guy's name that we drafted that year. I want to say his name was fucking... It was, because it was the year that, the whole Mike Vick thing happened. I'm going to look it up for y'all to see what it actually was, because the guy's name that we drafted in the first round that year, It was Jamal Anderson. No, it wasn't. Oh, the running back Jamal Anderson. It was defensive end from Arkansas. That was a Jamal Anderson that we drafted that year. He played for us for 3 years, and then NFL career. And all right, so Jamal Anderson, well, not the running back Jamal Anderson, historic running back for our franchise. No, it was defensive end Jamal Anderson that we drafted that year. We had the 8th overall pick, and he was really hoping that I wish the Falcons would have selected me. Obviously, went to the Lions, had that great career, retired early because, the Lions just waste everyone's career, but once again, isn't a trash-talking stream. But it is true. So, what if Calvin Johnson played for the Falcons? What if with that 8 overall pick? I don't know what pick the Lions had that year, but the Falcons either traded up to get him or they took him. What if the Falcons drafted Calvin Johnson? Now, 2007, I don't think it would have done that much because we were just in a total mess. If we did have Mike Vick that year, though, could have probably have made a playoff run with him. 2008, this is where it really starts to come in because that's when he really broke out big time. He would have been a great weapon for Matt Ryan, the rookie Matt Ryan. And he really would have been a game changer and probably, honestly, could have maybe have given us that win versus the Cardinals. I don't know if it would have, but maybe we could have made a deeper playoff run. 2009, if we had him, I think that it probably could have helped us get in the playoffs. 2010, we were butt raped by the Packers that year, and it's the sad truth. So, we wouldn't have we would have lost the game, probably still. Maybe it would have been a touchdown closer, but still would have lost the game. 2011, we were butt raped that year. It was a 24-2 game versus the Giants. That wouldn't have done anything. 2012, this is where the real change comes. If we had Calvin Johnson, because that was the year Calvin Johnson broke the single-season receiving yards record. If he had that offense, and say they do draft Julio, which I don't honestly think would happen, if we had Calvin Johnson already, but say we still do make the trade for Julio, it would have been an amazing year for Matt Ryan. And probably, honestly, because with Calvin Johnson, we wouldn't have probably have had to worry about the PI. We probably could have gotten another touchdown, and honestly, probably could have won the game. I'm serious. We probably could have won the game, NFC Championship game, going to the Super Bowl, and we could have won it. So, honestly, in 2012, if we had Calvin Johnson, we drafted him, still had Julio, and we had Roddy White, obviously, still, we would have probably have won the Super Bowl at least once with Calvin Johnson. Maybe another time we would have won it, but I don't know. But then the other parts of his career retired in 2015. But maybe he wouldn't have retired and he still would have played, and maybe that could have led to us actually winning our second Super Bowl in this mini theory versus the Patriots, which we should have won, but I think we all know what happened. But what if Calvin Johnson played for the Falcons in conclusion? I think Calvin Johnson would have been great with the Falcons. He would have maybe have kept his career going longer. And if we still drafted Julio, it would have been two of the greatest wide receivers of all time, or at least in this generation, on the same team. And it would have been a nightmare for defenses. And also having Roddy White, by the way, still. So, I think that the Falcons would have won a Super Bowl with Calvin Johnson. I really do. And say they still draft Julio, they would have won a Super Bowl. They could have probably maybe have won 2 Super Bowls. But I don't know. But we will go, if the Falcons did draft Calvin Johnson, they would have won a Super Bowl. So, video broadcast wasn't that longer today. It wasn't that longer today. It was not that. I'm sorry. I actually had to fix something with my my computer was actually acting up. But anyways, I think that we would have done great with Calvin Johnson, and I'm just gonna say that straight up. I think we would have done great with Calvin Johnson, and yeah. In conclusion, I think we would have won a Super Bowl with Calvin Johnson, maybe 2 Super Bowls. And overall, Calvin Johnson was and would have been a great player for the Falcons. I mean, if he was a great player for the Lions, why couldn't he be a great player for the Falcons? But anyways, podcast wasn't that longer today. But, I think I did a better job than last time. But anyway, I guess that's going to really do it for this episode. I will see y'all on Wednesday. And yeah, that's where we will go from there. So everybody, you're going to watch this on replay. Thank you for watching it. And yeah, this is Rise Up ATO, and make sure y'all rise up. Peace out, y'all.